Tchau, Douglas. Você foi a minha base, mas está na hora de eu voar.
Was this the most uncomfortable wedding in 90 Day Fiancé history? Fans are calling it cringy, chaotic, and downright heartbreaking. Here's why. Fans of 90 Day Fiancé are no strangers to dramatic weddings. Over the years, the franchise has delivered canceled ceremonies, runaway brides, broken engagements, screaming matches, and even last-minute legal disasters. But viewers are now calling Alliya and Shawn's chaotic, uncomfortable, tension-filled nuptials the worst wedding ever filmed on 90 Day Fiancé, and not without reason. What was supposed to be a romantic moment of closure turned into a shocking storm of resentment, tears, suspicion, and unfiltered family drama. From the uncomfortable seating arrangements to the explosive arguments and late arrivals, the ceremony spiraled into a messy event that left everyone, cast, crew, and audience, stunned. A wedding nobody was ready for. The build-up to Alliya and Shawn's wedding already had fans bracing themselves. Their relationship began with confusion, misunderstandings, and fights about identity, honesty, and communication. Viewers watched as Shawn struggled to accept parts of Alliya's past, while Alliya often felt judged and unsupported. By the week of the wedding, they still weren't living together full-time, their families barely spoke to each other, and both sides admitted they weren't convinced this marriage would last. That alone would make any bride nervous, but the ceremony itself revealed just how unstable things were. Shawn didn't even show up on time. On the morning of the wedding, production cameras caught a frantic Alliya pacing in her dress, anxiously checking her phone. Shawn was nowhere to be found. His tux hadn't arrived, he wasn't answering calls, and guests began whispering about whether he was going to pull a last-minute disappearing act. Even Alliya's closest friends were heard saying, "He's sabotaging this. He doesn't want to be here." For almost 2 hours, guests sat in the heat, watching Alliya cry in her makeup chair as producers tried contacting Shawn. When he finally arrived, he didn't apologize. In fact, the first thing he said was, "I needed time to think. It's a lifetime decision." That alone set a tense mood that never recovered. The guests were fighting before the ceremony. Family drama is nothing new on the show, but this time it overshadowed the entire event. Alliya's family already disliked Shawn, believing he was emotionally immature and not ready for marriage. Shawn's family didn't trust Alliya and accused her of hiding things. Instead of sitting quietly, the two sides openly whispered insults at each other during the wedding preparations. Cameras captured bridesmaids arguing with Shawn's siblings, calling the groom a coward, while Shawn's mother complained that she never approved of the relationship and only attended to avoid embarrassment. Most 90-day weddings are awkward. This one was hostile. The vows turned into a therapy session. When the ceremony finally started, it should have been a relief, but the vows made things worse. Instead of sweet promises, both sides delivered speeches that sounded like arguments. Shawn's vows were criticized for being cold and self-centered. Instead of expressing love, he focused on how hard the relationship had been for him and how much he had given up. Alliya's vows shocked guests even more. She brought up past fights, talked about how she thought of leaving many times, and ended her speech with, "I hope one day you learn how to love me the way I deserve." Viewers watching the episode said it felt less like a wedding and more like a breakup. Then came the most uncomfortable moment of all. During the ring exchange, Shawn hesitated. Cameras zoomed in on his shaking hands as he stalled for several seconds. Guests gasped. Alliya stared at him like she was ready to walk away. Finally, he slipped the ring on, but with a blank face, no smile, no emotion. He looked like a man walking into a prison. This is the most depressing wedding in franchise history. These two should have canceled instead of humiliating themselves. But the disaster didn't end at "I do." The reception was worse than the ceremony. What happened after the vows made the episode unforgettable. Shawn made a speech and insulted the bride. At the reception, Shawn took the microphone for a toast and shocked everyone watching. Instead of praising Alliya, he said, "We've had problems, and we still have a lot we need to fix. But I guess we're here now." Guests stared in horror. Some even began whispering about whether the marriage would last longer than the reception. Alliya walked out of the room crying. Cameras followed her as she told producers, "This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. He's making a joke out of it." One bridesmaid had to calm her down in the bathroom, telling her she didn't deserve to be embarrassed on her own wedding day. Families started shouting at each other. If the wedding was awkward, the reception was a meltdown. While Alliya was away crying, Shawn's sister took the microphone and announced that she didn't believe in this marriage and hoped they both got counseling before bringing kids into the picture. That's when Alliya's mother yelled back, accusing Shawn's family of humiliating the bride and sabotaging the event. Security and producers had to step in to separate the families. Tables were left half empty as guests walked out in the middle of the dinner. Music stopped. The DJ lowered the volume because the arguments drowned out the wedding playlist. Even the first dance was painful. When Alliya finally returned to the reception, producers convinced the couple to at least film the traditional first dance. But the moment was so stiff and silent that it became one of the most uncomfortable scenes ever aired. Shawn barely touched her. Alliya looked like she was fighting tears. Guests watched silently. Some didn't even clap at the end. It was a wedding with no joy, no celebration, and no connection, just tension. Fans say it should have been canceled. Many 90-day fiancé couples have dramatic weddings, but most still end with smiles, hugs, dancing, or hope. This one ended with guests leaving early, a silent car ride, and a bride wiping off her tears in the back seat. Viewers demanded to know why the ceremony wasn't canceled when it was obvious both sides were unhappy. Fans flooded social media with comments like, "This wasn't a wedding, it was a warning sign. Why did they force this to happen? This was more..." But I guess we're here now. Guests stared in horror. Some even began whispering about whether the marriage would last longer than the reception. Alliya walked out of the room crying. Cameras followed her as she told producers, "This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. He's making a joke out of it." One bridesmaid had to calm her down in the bathroom, telling her she didn't deserve to be embarrassed on her own wedding day. Families started shouting at each other. If the wedding was awkward, the reception was a meltdown. While Alliya was away crying, Shawn's sister took the microphone and announced that she didn't believe in this marriage and hoped they both got counseling before bringing kids into the picture. That's when Alliya's mother yelled back, accusing Shawn's family of humiliating the bride and sabotaging the event. Security and producers had to step in to separate the families. Tables were left half empty as guests walked out in the middle of the dinner. Music stopped. The DJ lowered the volume because the arguments drowned out the wedding playlist. Even the first dance was painful. When Alliya finally returned to the reception, producers convinced the couple to at least film the traditional first dance. But the moment was so stiff and silent that it became one of the most uncomfortable scenes ever aired. Shawn barely touched her. Alliya looked like she was fighting tears. Guests watched silently. Some didn't even clap at the end. It was a wedding with no joy, no celebration, and no connection. Just tension. Fans say it should have been canceled. Many 90-day fiancé couples have dramatic weddings, but most still end with smiles, hugs, dancing, or hope. This one ended with guests leaving early, a silent car ride, and a bride wiping off her tears in the back seat. Viewers demanded to know why the ceremony wasn't canceled when it was obvious both sides were unhappy. Fans flooded social media with comments like, "This wasn't a wedding, it was a warning sign. Why did they force this to happen?" This was more painful to watch than Danielle and Mohammed's wedding. Even longtime franchise watchers said they'd never seen a ceremony go this badly. Critics blame Shawn. Many believe Shawn's cold behavior and late arrival created the disaster. His lack of affection throughout the entire event made fans question whether he wanted to marry Alliya at all. Some even accused him of staying only because of the cameras. He looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. That wasn't love, just obligation. Others blamed his family for openly disrespecting the bride.
Some fans blame Alliya. Not everyone points the finger at Shawn. Some viewers think Alliya ignored red flags and forced a wedding with a man who made it clear he wasn't ready. Her emotional vows made fans wonder whether she was trying to guilt-trip him into staying. One Twitter user wrote, "They were both miserable. It never should have happened." After filming wrapped, rumors began spreading that the couple separated shortly after the honeymoon phase. Some sources claim the two are now living apart, while others say they never officially filed their marriage license because Shawn needed more time. Social media detectives noticed that both stopped posting photos together, deleted wedding pictures, and began hinting at personal growth journeys in vague Instagram captions. Fans are now waiting for the tell-all episode, expecting explosive confrontations and possibly a breakup announcement. If the wedding looked this bad, the reunion might be even worse. Why this wedding became a franchise legend? Over 10 years, 90 Day Fiancé has aired more than 60 weddings across spin-offs and international versions. Many were chaotic, many were shocking, but what makes Alliya and Shawn stand out is how emotionless and painful it was. There was no happiness, no joy, no intimacy, only tension, regret, silence, and two families who would rather fight than celebrate. Other disastrous weddings in franchise history usually included at least one person who was excited. This time, nobody looked happy, not even the couple getting married. For fans, that's what makes it unforgettable. What viewers witnessed wasn't just a bad wedding, it was a relationship falling apart in real time. From Shawn's cold expressions to Alliya's heartbreak, the entire event felt like a warning that the marriage was doomed before it even began. Fans may have expected drama, but they didn't expect a ceremony filled with so much discomfort that viewers said they had to look away from the screen. Whether the marriage survives or collapses, one thing is clear. When the episode aired, the fan reaction was immediate and explosive. Viewers were stunned, angry, and confused at how a wedding this miserable was allowed to move forward. But the shock only grew in the days that followed, as more information began leaking from production staff, wedding guests, and even close friends of the couple. What happened on camera was bad. What happened off camera was even worse. Producers knew the wedding was spiraling. Several insiders claimed that producers debated shutting down filming multiple times throughout the day. But instead of stepping in, they continued recording because the tension was too real to ignore. A production assistant later told a blogger, "We've seen awkward weddings before, but this was the first time the bride and groom looked like they were grieving instead of celebrating." Another insider claimed the crew actually prepared for a possible runaway groom. They kept drivers near the exit and watched Shawn closely during breaks because he appeared overwhelmed and frustrated. At one point, Shawn reportedly told a producer he didn't want to continue, but after hours of convincing, he agreed to stay for the ceremony. Guests called it a nightmare event. Wedding guests who weren't shown on camera came forward online, confirming that the atmosphere was even darker than what viewers saw. One guest wrote anonymously, "The cameras didn't catch everything. There was shouting, crying, and at least 3 couples left early because the vibe was depressing." Another guest said the reception food was barely touched, the dance floor stayed empty, and most people stood outside just to escape the tension.
It wasn't just a bad wedding for TV, it was a bad wedding in real life. Alliya's family demanded she leave. In a heartbreaking moment, cut from the final edit, Alliya's mother reportedly begged her to walk away before signing any marriage paperwork. Witnesses claim she told her daughter, "He doesn't love you. You don't have to do this. You can walk out right now." But Alliya refused, saying she was too deep into the relationship to quit on camera. Some viewers suspect she was afraid of the humiliation of being left at the altar. Others believe she still hoped Shawn would change after the wedding. Shawn's family left early. If Alliya's family was emotional, Shawn's family was cold. Multiple guests said his sister and mother left within minutes of the first dance and didn't congratulate the couple before walking out. Fans pointed out that during the reception, his family sat at a separate table far from the bride, barely interacting with either side. After the episode aired, viewers blasted Shawn's mother on social media for refusing to support the marriage. She responded with a vague message online. A mother knows when something isn't right. She later deleted the post, but not before screenshots spread across fan pages. The honeymoon fell apart too. According to leaks from crew members, the honeymoon was supposed to be a romantic reset for the couple. Instead, it was a continuation of the disaster. Sources claim the two barely spoke during travel and slept in separate beds the first night. Shawn allegedly told producers he felt trapped, while Alliya said she didn't understand why her new husband was being so cold. By the third day of the trip, the couple asked the production team to give them space, something rarely requested unless a relationship is falling apart. Fans begged TLC to stop the marriage. The reaction online was unlike anything the show has seen in years. Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Reddit exploded with clips of Shawn's emotionless vows, the painful first dance, and Alliya crying in the bathroom. Fans begged TLC to intervene and help Alliya before the marriage became abusive or humiliating. Cancel this marriage. She deserves better. Why was this allowed to go on? This was painful to watch. Someone needs to check on her. She looked broken. Even longtime franchise fans who have watched countless messy relationships said this crossed the line from dramatic television into emotional cruelty. Relationship experts called it a red flag disaster. If fans were stunned, marriage counselors and psychologists who watched the show were horrified. Several weighed in online analyzing the couple's actions. One relationship expert wrote, "Every element of this wedding signaled collapse. Lack of affection, hesitation, no emotional closeness, and family hostility. This marriage is built on fear, not love." This wasn't a wedding. It was a warning. Many predicted the marriage would not survive 6 months. Cast members react. Other 90 Day Fiancé stars also spoke out, making the situation even bigger. A former cast member commented online, "That was uncomfortable. I would have canceled if my partner looked at me like that on the wedding day. That wasn't a wedding, just a funeral for a relationship." Some even accused Shawn of using Alliya for the show, while others blamed both for ignoring obvious problems. Rumors began swirling that producers considered cutting their storyline from future episodes if the marriage collapses too quickly. Are Alliya and Shawn still together? The biggest question from fans is whether the couple is still married now. Signs point to no. They no longer follow each other on social media. Wedding photos disappeared from both accounts. Their families unfriended each other online. Alliya started posting emotional quotes about respect and self-worth. Shawn shared posts about wanting peace, not pressure. While neither has officially confirmed a breakup, everything indicates separation. One source close to the production team claims, "We were told to stop planning follow-up filming because they're not together. That wedding was the end, not the beginning." The tell-all will be explosive. If viewers think the wedding was dramatic, insiders are hinting that the tell-all might become one of the most intense in franchise history. Shawn walks off the stage twice. Alliya cries while discussing the wedding night. Shawn Robinson asks whether they consummated the marriage. A cast member calls their relationship fake. A family member joins the stage and confronts Shawn directly. Some reports claim the tell-all almost had to be shut down because emotions ran too high. Fans say TLC exploited the situation. Many viewers are now accusing TLC and the production crew of letting a vulnerable woman walk into a humiliating situation just to get dramatic TV. You could see she was emotionally destroyed. A camera crew shouldn't have filmed that. They should have helped her. This wasn't entertainment. This was cruelty.
Even some who normally defend reality TV said this wedding went too far. The franchise has shown uncomfortable moments before, but nothing this heartbreaking. Why the episode went viral? Within hours of airing, clips from the wedding spread across TikTok and YouTube, gaining millions of views. People who hadn't watched 90 Day Fiancé in years tuned in just to see the disaster. The top reasons it went viral: the groom looked miserable, the bride cried through half the ceremony, the vows sounded like arguments, the families hated each other, guests walked out, no one smiled, the entire event felt doomed. It became one of those rare reality TV moments where viewers couldn't look away because it was too painful to watch. In the end, a warning, not a love story. What was supposed to be a celebration became a televised meltdown. Instead of joy, viewers witnessed fear, stress, humiliation, and emotional collapse. The wedding wasn't just bad TV, it was a psychological gut punch. For some viewers, it was the moment they realized not every couple on 90 Day Fiancé is ready for marriage.